Today on r/EntitledParents, a bride turns revenge into art, a balcony that almost went boom, and a dad wants a refund for fatherhood. Let's dive in.
The bride wore red. My wife and I received a wedding invitation from an old shipmate earlier this year. I'd served with him in the Coast Guard and had stayed in touch over the decades. So let's just call him Chief and his fiancée, Chiefette. I called Chief the next day and formally accepted for the two of us, then sent the RSVP back just to be extra formal. My wife and I marked our calendar, set aside funds for travel, and went back to normal living. 2 weeks later, Chief called with an odd request. He wanted my wife to wear her wedding gown to his wedding. Long story short, they'd found out that Chiefette's mother intended to wear her wedding gown to her daughter's wedding, and instead of making a fight out of it, they were asking all the guests, well, the female guests, to at least wear white, if not an actual wedding dress. I have no idea what would have happened if I'd turned up in a wedding dress. My wife was delighted. She could still fit into her dress, and as she put it, when will I get another chance to wear the silly thing? So the date came. We showed up, me in a nice suit, my love in her dress, and walked into a room full of women in white. The plan was that we'd all walk into the chapel when the preacher was ready, but Chiefette wanted us all in this room when her mother showed up. I joined Chief outside the main doors and watched as his future mother-in-law exited her car in an explosion of white tulle. She was wearing something that would have suited a Disney princess, but marched up to us like a Marine storming a beachfront, clearly expecting resistance, if not rejection. Chief simply welcomed her warmly and held the door for her and his future father-in-law, who had the grace to look ashamed. She strutted into the room, nose in the air, then froze, staring at 20 or so women, all wearing white, and most wearing gowns as fancy as hers. I don't know what Chief expected, but he seemed surprised at her meltdown. The woman started screaming at everyone, calling them out for how shameful it was to wear white to her daughter's wedding, and how they all had to leave. Her husband quietly pointed out that she herself was wearing a wedding gown to her daughter's wedding. That's different, darn it! I'm her mother! When she discovered that the bride had specifically requested the women to wear white, she deflated like a punctured beach ball. Moments later, the music started. The doors opened and we all entered the chapel. We had barely sat when the wedding march started, and Chiefette, wearing a stunning red and gold gown, walked in on the arm of her father. Her mother left almost immediately after the ceremony. Later, at the reception, I found out that Chiefette had based her revenge on posts she'd read on Reddit. So, congratulations, people. You did good. I called Chief, and Chiefette answered. I let her know that I'd posted, and she pulled up the post while we were on the phone. The good news is that she was delighted by the comments, but she's putting the kibosh on sharing any pictures. Apparently, she's trying to reconcile with her mom and various members of her family who believe she went too far and doesn't want to kick the hornet's nest any harder than absolutely necessary.
You've got to admire the creativity here. The mom thought she was the star of the wedding, walking in like some Disney queen, dripping in tulle and drama. But the bride? Oh, she played the long game. Inviting every woman to wear white was chef's kiss levels of petty elegance. She didn't yell, she didn't fight, she just made her mom blend in like a background extra. And then walking in wearing red and gold? That's power. That's her saying, "You wanted attention? Watch me take all of it." It's the kind of move that makes you clap quietly in your seat because you're too busy admiring the execution. Honestly, this mom wasn't just entitled. She was delusional enough to think she deserved to be the bride. But Chiefette? She turned that chaos into art. Next up, let's just say the next mom had fireworks on her mind and someone else's property in her plans.
Entitled mom told me I should share my apartment balcony because her kids wanted to use it for fireworks. I rent in a mid-rise building with small balconies. Last night, as I was out watering my plants, my downstairs neighbor's kids were yelling up at me. Their mom leaned out the window and said, "Hey, we were thinking you could let my kids come up on your balcony later to set off fireworks. It's safer than street level." I said, "You want your kids on my balcony? With explosives?" She goes, "They're not explosives, they're just little rockets. And you don't even use your balcony except for plants. Don't be selfish." When I laughed and said, Absolutely not. She huffed that she'd tell the landlord I wasn't being cooperative with neighbors. Spoiler, the landlord laughed too when I emailed to preemptively explain. This morning, I found 2 soggy bottle rockets in my potted basil, so I guess she let them try anyway.
Some parents treat boundaries like suggestions. This mom really said, "Hey stranger, can my kids come into your home and play with fireworks?" Like, what dimension does that make sense in? When OP said no, she tried to pull the "you're not being neighborly" card. Ma'am, being a good neighbor means not setting my plants on fire. The fact that she still launched fireworks anyway just proves the point. Entitled people don't want cooperation, they want control. And that landlord laughing? That's karma giving a polite little bow. Up next, if you think that's bold, wait till you hear about a dad who decided parenting should come with a refund policy.
My dad told me I should pay him back for the child support. I'm a bit fuzzy on the details now, blocked memories and all that, but I remember one day after working at a restaurant from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., no lunch, barista, bartender, server, and dishwasher, my dad cornered me and said that since I was so rich, I wasn't, I was a manager making less than the junior staff, I should pay him back for all the child support my mother stole from him. He then showed me the letters he kept, and with the way he went on and on over the years, I expected it to be thousands per month. Sure, I went to private school, but they chose to send me there before they even got divorced. The plan had originally been to go there from pre-primary, but they missed the cutoff, so I went from year 7 to 12. Also, the cost for the school was handled separately, outside of child support. So what it was used for was uniforms, swimming lessons, healthcare, Medicare, and a phone plan, until I turned 16. Then I paid for my own, with help from mom to top it off occasionally, as I used my phone as a hotspot so my sister could do homework. Dad didn't want to pay for Wi-Fi, as we would waste it. Long story. The rest they dealt with on their own or just paid it if it was their week. So basically, he paid next to nothing, about $15 to $20 per week for 2 kids. For years, I listened to him guilt trip me about it, try to twist us against our mom, and sometimes it worked, and say he couldn't afford food because of us. All to find out he paid practically nothing. He worked as a locksmith and then a motorbike mechanic in a specialized area, then went back to being a locksmith. I'm not in contact with him now, obviously. My sister lives with him still, but we're fine. She comes over to stay at mine pretty often, mostly for the Wi-Fi, but she prefers dad's to mom's as she has issues with our mom. Longer story there. He just took my sister on a week-long trip to Bali, all expenses paid. She's 20 and hasn't had a job for over a year. When I last lived with him, I was the cook, the cleaner, the caretaker of my sister, the dog walker, and the person putting myself in the middle deliberately to avoid hospital visits or animal abuse. But yeah, that's my dad, a begging man-child.
This one's not just entitled, it's heartbreaking. Imagine your own dad telling you to pay him back for raising you. That's not parenting. That's a business invoice with emotional damage fees. He barely contributed, then acted like the victim while his kid worked themselves into exhaustion. It's wild how some parents twist the story so they're always the ones who gave too much. But walking away? That's not disrespect. That's self-respect. Because you don't owe anyone for being born. And love isn't a transaction. So, who takes the crown for ultimate entitlement this round? The mom who tried to upstage a wedding? The one lighting fireworks on balconies? Or the dad charging interest on fatherhood? Tell me below. I'm curious which one blew your mind the most. That's a wrap on today's r/entitled parents drama, because apparently raising kids comes with a side of delusion. If that had you cringing or cackling, give this video a big ol' thumbs up. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I know you've got something to say about these wild families. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's your chance. Smash that button, ring the bell, and I'll see you in the next one, where the entitlement only gets louder. Bye!